Chapter 5 of Skye's Rainbow's Journey. The map of the library book was a huge help, but at least she would know how far the journey was, and a pretty good idea how long it would take. But one detail the map didn't show was how high the trip would go. The roads in the valley would all go uphill, and to get to the tallest mountain, the trail goes higher and higher and higher. The trip was exhausting, but Skye was determined to make it through. Then finally, after many days, she came to a sign that said, Golden Mountain. Now, Skye was also not expecting to be so many other people to be on the same trail. It seemed that the closer she got to the mountain, the more people she saw. When she finally reached the mountain, there was a long line of people waiting their turn to go up the final slope. Wow, thought Skye, is there enough treasure for all of these travelers? This was not what Skye had dreamed of or pictured in her thoughts of how she would discover the treasure. But she waited her turn and made her way up the final path of the mountain. Now the summit was an opening of a large cave. Everyone was being directed along the pathway with a handrail. There was a few dim footpath lights, but the cave was dark, and there was just not much to see. After what seemed like forever, the crowd was led into a large underground cavern that seemed to be as big as the whole outdoors. Everyone got quiet. The crowd seemed to be waiting. Then all of a sudden, the cave exploded with lights. The sight took Skye's breath away. All of the walls, the roof, and the floor were covered in solid gold. A guide stood on top of a gold mound and explained that long ago miners had found this cavern and were so impressed with its beauty that they all agreed not to mine it, but just to leave it as it was so that everyone else could enjoy the splendor and beauty of such a rare place. Skye was truly in awe of the sight. The cavern was almost a magical place. It was hard to believe it was real. And then Skye's heart sank as she realized that somebody else had already found the gold, and it was not her for the taking. She finished the tour with the rest of the crowd and made her way back down the mountain. And that evening, Skye sat and thought about what she was supposed to do next. None of her plans or dreams had worked out. Nothing seemed to go as planned. And all Skye could think of was her papa and the lighthouse. All Skye wanted to do was to go home. Tears filled her eyes, and she kind of drifted off to sleep. Her dreams were filled with the seashore and the forest around the lighthouse, and the light that came from down the hall that led straight to Papa's room. Light to Papa's room. Wait, I'm not dreaming. That's a light. That's just like Papa's light. Skye jumped up and followed the light that was shining in her face to see where it came from. The piercing light penetrated the darkness, so there was an easy path to follow. The light was perched on the edge of a large basket. And above the basket hung a huge and towering hot air balloon. Even in the darkness, Skye could see how bright the colors were, and it was so tall. I hope my light didn't disturb you. Its brightness comes in handy when I'm up high, but on the ground it can be a bit overpowering. Skye had been so lost in the sight of the balloon, she had not noticed its pilot sitting in the shadows. I don't mind it at all. It rather reminds me of home. Well, the sailor who made it for me also had one in his house, stated the pilot. That wouldn't be a lighthouse, asked Skye. The pilot was quite shocked. Why, yes, it was. Do you know Salty? Skye smiled. Yes, that's my Papa Salty. Well, bless my baggy britches, he told me he had a daughter, but I'd never thought I would find you. What are you doing out here? Where are you going?" I was just trying to figure that very question out. I was thinking of home and your light shined on me. For a moment, I thought you were my papa. The pilot must have heard the homesickness in Skye's voice and seen the loneliness in her eyes. "Well, lassie, you're in great luck, as long as you don't mind heights. You could be sleeping in your own bed this time tomorrow. It just so happens that I'm headed straight back to your home. The lighthouse is like a marker for me to guide me on my way. With good strong winds that we'll have in the morning, the winds will carry us right to the lighthouse in no time at all. What do you say? Do you care for a lift?" Skye could not believe it. She would be home tomorrow. Yes, 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 yes. I would love to go home. Early the next morning, the pilot helped Skye into the basket, and in no time at all, the balloon was as high as the mountain, and it was traveling toward the sea. The beauty of first flight was overwhelming. The view from up on high in the lighthouse was always great, but it didn't compare to this. And then there was the silence. The quietness was deafening. Skye was busy taking it all in when she spotted the golden dome of the library off in the distance. How insignificant it looked from this height. Then Skye saw the most baffling thing. It was a rainbow, but it wasn't a bow anymore. Now it was a complete and perfect circle. She asked the pilot about it, and he told her, "It's all about perspective. On the ground, you think the rainbows have ends, but when you see it from up here at this height, you see all of it, because rainbows are round." It wasn't long after she'd spotted the farm, then she saw far off in the distance, Skye could see the lighthouse outlined against the blue of the ocean. Home, beautiful home. The pilot was able to land the hot air balloon just inside the cucumber fence. Papa Salty came running out of the lighthouse and hugged Skye and swung her around and around and around. How happy she was to be home. After all the homecoming excitement had passed and a celebration supper was over, the pilot went along his journey home. Papa Salty and Skye finally had a chance to sit and talk. She told him of the large family on the farm, and the librarian under the golden dome, and the beauty and splendor of Golden Mountain. She told him of the balloon ride and how small the world looked from so high up. Then Papa Salty asked Skye a question about the most amazing sight on her trip. Skye did not hesitate. She answered without needing to think. "Papa, from high up in the balloon, I looked down on the rainbow and discovered that rainbows are actually a complete circle. You can't see the other half of the circle from the ground." And then Papa asked, what was the most disappointing part of her whole adventure? Skye stared at the floor. She knew the answer to this question as quick as she knew the first one. But she did not want to tell her papa the reason for the journey was to seek treasure and gold. When she told him of the gold disappointment, Papa first smiled, and then he giggled a little. And then he laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. Now Skye was somewhat offended by Papa's laughter and asked her what he found so funny. Once he was able to catch his breath, Salty got up from his chair and walked over to the side of the library bookshelves. He reached behind the shelf with his hand, and Skye heard a loud click, and the shelf of books moved forward. Behind the shelf was hidden another shelf with pots and pots and pots and pots of gold. They were stacked up and crammed together. Skye's mouth dropped open. There was so much gold. Papa, why do you have so much gold, and where did it come from? This is not my gold, lassie. All of this is what you earned to helping me growing the cucumbers. This is yours. Mine? Papa, I don't understand. Then Papa Salty explained all the times that Skye had helped him growing the cucumbers. They would take the extras to market. Skye remembered all the trips to market. Papa told her that he would use half of the gold that he received and spend it on special things like new books and treats, but that he would save the other half. He decided that half would be her share since she had worked hard too. She could not believe everything she was searching for was right there at home. She was shocked. So much gold. She just could not believe that it was just right there for her all the time. And then the thought hit her. Of course, rainbows are round. She told Papa Salty. Oh, lassie, said Papa, 'tis a mistake to think that the gold is the treasure. Ye are the real treasure, lass. 'Twasn't the work of your own hands that produced the crop, the gold and all the other good things? Dearest Skye, the rainbow circle starts and ends with your own sweet presence. Now the true secret of the rainbow's path makes the true treasure much more valuable. Each of us increases in riches in 3 ways. First, by the people we meet, and then by the books we read, and then by the wonders of natures that we see. The rainbow's path took you to all 3, did it not? Skye thought about the wonderful family and the librarian and the pilot, and then the thought hit her how good it felt to be with all of them. And then she realized what a rich treasure her papa was to her. Indeed, gold is not the true treasure, she thought. Family and friends, we are the true treasures. The rainbow circle leads us back to ourselves, and we take the true treasure with us while we're completing the journey. There really is treasure at the rainbow's end. Did you like that story? You got the sleepy blue eyes, sleepy blue eyes, sleepy blue eyes staring up at me. You got the sleepy blue eyes smiling at me, smiling at me. Got the sleepy blue eyes, sleepy blue eyes, sleepy blue eyes staring up at me. You got those sleepy blue eyes smiling at me, smiling at me. It doesn't matter to me if you're 103. You'll always be my baby. Bye-bye, baby.